This is where it all began, the fight between Maverick Aoko and Peter Salasya, where Maverick Aoko has exposed some damning allegations and details in regarding to Peter Salasya's ambition for the presidency. And I will start as an introduction to this video with this first tweet. Aoko says, "Wuwi kujeni, hii nimepata sahi, hadi nikajihurumia na vile I had begun cheering him. Sasa whom do we trust? My guy Peter Salasya kumbe umeingia box. Few months ago, Salasya leaked his payslip claiming deductions rendered him penurious. You have noticed he suddenly stopped hanging out with Akina Sudi, resorted to cajoling Ruto, yet you have never seen the UDA wankers attack him ferociously. Kumbe Salasya has collected 40 million from Kato Olemetito, State House co-patroller, to be the youthful presidential candidate in 2027 to represent the Gen Z. Ndio agawe kura za vijana na Waluya. His coastal tour today with his hashtag Salasya na vijana. Umeona suddenly he wants to start a party for the youth. Ule wa Vampire Diaries tu. DAPK which sponsored him to bunge imemkosea wapi? Why isn't he mobilizing youth to join that? Si Natembeya ako hapo na Istawe movement. Peter anatoa funding for new party wapi? Ask him alitoa wapi pesa ya fuel for a convoy of over 10 cars for someone with a payslip ya 18k. The convoy was fueled at Galana Energies and Gava picked the bill. The madness masquerade as declassified. Peter Salasya is a mole for President William Ruto to divide the Gen Z vote in the year 2027. Let's begin the video. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, a few weeks ago, on 28th of April 2025, the Member of Parliament of Mumias East, Peter Salasya, launched his presidential bid, a move that a lot of people did not anticipate in the country. And Peter Salasya fronting himself as a presidential candidate ahead of the 2027 general election is something that has brought up a lot of questions on social media. And one lady or blogger, Maverick Aoko, has held Peter Salasya by the neck, exposing the person behind the sponsoring of Peter Salasya's presidential bid. Now, allow me to take you down the memory lane and to explain to you what Peter Salasya's presidential bid in the year 2027 means in the elections that will be conducted. As we all know, the 2027 presidential elections, we know that there will be it will be a two race course. Two horse race. President William Ruto and the opposition, which will be combined of Rigathi Gachagua, Fred Matiang'i, Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, George Natembeya, Eugene Wamalwa, and all the others. Peter Salasya's bid for the presidential candidate in the year 2027 is something that will play a great role in the division of the opposition votes. Why am I saying this? The MP comes from Mumias East, which is part of the western region. The western part of Kenya, recently, they were all united behind one Trans Nzoia governor, George Natembeya, believing that if George Natembeya unites with the opposition and he is given a chance as either a presidential candidate or a deputy presidential candidate, they would vote for that opposition function. And the Tawe movement led by George Natembeya is one for the books. So for the first time, the whole nation had realized that the Luhya nation was united behind one George Natembeya. And for the first time, the Mount Kenya region having the largest number of votes, with the second largest region with the second largest number of votes is the Western region. If the Mount Kenya region was to combine with the Western region votes, that would clearly be a catastrophic move for President William Ruto to beat the opposition, with the Mount Kenya region and the Western or the Luya nation or the Mlembe nation at large. But with the other function of Peter Salasya being planted as a divisive factor within the Western region votes, that means there are those that will have a divided attention, those that see they cannot follow George Natembeya, for George Natembeya will be a deputy presidential candidate in the opposition coalition, because he cannot be given just a direct nomination for the presidential candidate. That is a position that will either go to Fred Matiang'i or Kalonzo Musyoka. Now, with that, Peter Salasya comes in. There are those that the lawyers who believe that they also need, for the first time, they can vote in a presidential candidate, and those will vote in Peter Salasya. The way Musalia Mudavadi at one time vied for the presidential seat to divide the Mulembe nation votes, that is what will be that is the function that Peter Salasya will be playing, because you all know the man does not have what it takes, to win the 2027 general election. He is a first-time member of parliament. Now, let's get down to his fight and the expose that has been done by one Maverick Aoko. Aoko started with this post saying initially he wanted to go for governor, Peter Salasya. Remember the fight that he was having with Governor Fernandez Baraza, the Bungoma governor. Now amepata pesa wapi ya Presidential Ambitions Countrywide Tour, ndio hiyo budget ya 2.3 for State House refurbishing ndo wanatumia kusponsor akina Maraga na akina Peter Salasya. Before the 2027 August, you will remember my tweet. That is what Maverick Aoko said. And Peter Salasya replied to Maverick Aoko by saying, I know the owner of the dog, and the owner of the dog can't manage to go around Nairobi seeking for gubernatorial seat. Now, he was attacking Maverick Aoko, referring to her as the dog of one Embakasi East Member of Parliament, Babu Owino, because Babu Owino is expected to vie for the gubernatorial seat of Nairobi in the 2027 general election. And Aoko replied to him by saying, you are not vying in Nairobi and Babu is not running for president, so why would he bother with such a rat? You can't even defend my assertions, just nyef nyef. Did they blackmail you with the drugs you are abusing, or you are just greedy? Mbona hukuanza kampeni na Western Queen? That is what Maverick Aoko asked. And she continued by saying, talking of dogs and their owners, I only said Ole Matito gave you 40 million. Ole Matito works in the office of the president in the State House. And Aoko goes ahead to say, wewe unataja Babu. Wewe sini dog ya Oscar Sudi, Peter Salasya, him, Murkomen's sister and Kisogo girl Wakasongo own Nairobi garbage collection tenders. Babu winning 2027, hence their loot, hence why you are backing. Now, Peter Salasya has also gone ahead to defend himself by saying this against Maverick Aoko, and I want you to listen. He said that Maverick Aoko is sick. Listen to him. He says, she is single and searching, but when I become president of this country, I will make sure that I equip Mathare Hospital to be able to handle bipolar disorder cases adequately, so that the likes of Aoko Otieno gets much needed attention. Bipolar disorder is not only an isolated case for Maverick, but many youth are suffering from depression in silence due to bad leadership in this country. Now, allow me to remind you one thing. When Peter Salasya began his said presidential campaign tour, he began in the western part of Kenya. Alianzia kwao huko nyumbani Bungoma, he proceeded to Busia, came to Kakamega, then went to Vihiga, proceeded to Trans Nzoia, where this is the ground or the bed for one George Natembeya, and then Peter Salasya is currently in Mombasa, popularizing his presidential bid. The question that a lot of people have been asking, and I really side with what Aoko says, that Peter Salasya is a project to divide the Luhya region votes in the year 2027 so that William Ruto will win, because if the Luhya region votes are united, if the Mlebe nation is united and the Mount Kenya region is united, I dare say that Ruto has no chance against the opposition in the year 2027. Are we together? But for him to have a chance, he has to plant in individuals that will divide these votes. And that is why in the Mount Kenya region, you have heard there is a possibility of either Ndindi Nyoro running for president in the year 2027. On the other side, Peter Salasya has already started his presidential bid. Now, these are projects planted by President William Ruto to divide these regions so that they won't vote together in the year 2027 against the president. Tuko pamoja kwa hilo? Yes, that's what we had. Now, the fight of Aoko and Peter Salasya continues, but I dare say that these are two people, they are known for their runs. But in whatever I said, there is always some truth. There is always some truth in it. And I dare ask you, Peter Salasya had a very, very, very active, he was the darling of the people that elected him as the Member of Parliament of Mumias East because he was delivering to them. But now, out of the blues, the man has already fronted himself as a possible candidate for the presidential elections in the year 2027. As we know, the members of parliament budget, where is Peter Salasya getting the funding to go on a nationwide presidential campaign? Yet, he is a first-time MP. Currently, it is his third year in parliament. And as we see it, he has been doing work in Mumias East. So meaning, he doesn't have that much capital reserved. Although we love the young man, but currently, this is something that we all must see through. For now, that's all. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment on the comment section. See you in our next video.